Check.
Yo.
Coming from a very private studio, San Bernardino.
Oh.
Whose land I forget. But we're out here in
Definitely.
a good way, in a sacred way. Yeah, red hot. To the doorway out. Yeah, flat as Jesus. Paul said one. Ernie. Yours who needs no introduction. So I'm not going to introduce.
One mind, one heart, one spirit.
Oh.
Spike, when you
Welcome to the men's circle, the kind of circle your grandpa would be proud of. Yeah, in a good way. We come in a good way.
Sacred feather in the middle.
All right.
Shout out to Red Feather.
Yeah, shout out to Red Feather. Put in all that trabajo. I see you, brother. All right.
So we're talking about
What are we talking about today?
all the mamadas.
Well, we got a guest, right? Today we're joined by.
I could have sworn he's been here for every episode.
That's Lucas, bro. His upgraded version.
Okay.
I come in various shapes and forms.
Yeah, Lucas 2.0.
He's a
Sometimes-
shapeshifter.
Sometimes more rounder than other days.
All right. So.
So we're not gonna give Ernie like
Yeah, no.
a couple minutes or what?
Yeah,
Give him his props,
Let's
bro.
please
Give him his
introduce
props.
yourself. Replacement. No, 10. Substitute.
10.
High regards.
My name's Ernie.
Hi, Ernie.
Hello.
Hi,
Welcome.
Are you an alcoholic?
I'm
I've
also
been an alcoholic
I'm
for
also.
35 years.
The first step is admitting it.
Yeah.
You're like, but you're not. I'm not 35.
No, I'm not 35.
What do you do, Ernie?
What I do? I work.
You work. Where do you work,
Where
Ernie?
do I work? Damn, dude,
Oh, let's not talk about that. Let's not
I'm
talk.
not talking about that.
Do you love your job?
No, I don't. Yeah, it's all right. I mean, better than where it was before.
Would you marry it?
I wouldn't marry it.
What brings you here, Ernie? What brings you to the sacred circle?
An invitation.
Oh. Tradition.
The Red Hot. Red Hockey hit me up. He slid into my DMs.
Oh.
I thought we had to talk about that one.
Let's talk about it again. I have no shame.
Golosa.
Like, guy led to the circle, and I was like, what? You gotta meet me in the alley though, because it's a little sketchy. I was like,
Damn.
we'll meet you there.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first.
Or the last.
Or the last.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
Appreciate
having
your
me.
presence. Today we're gonna go over some fun stories, hopefully.
You don't see the waves?
What? Sirio Pero?
It's a good thing we're gonna edit this, huh?
Yeah.
It's going past. So zoom out.
Zoom out. Sometime you need to do the zooming. There we go. Ooh. Okay, we're good? We're good? Always with the goddamn technical
It's
difficulties.
okay. It was just.
No?
It's a learning experience.
No excuses. No excuses, Vero.
Okay.
All right, so today we're gonna go over some fun stories. Hopefully, we're gonna see what we got. See what we got in terms of stories. So, we thought it would be a pretty good idea to go over our first experience with law enforcement. Right? Like, what was your first time having to deal with the police?
So we're gonna be here all night, huh?
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. So I got a pretty good one. But let's start over there with hedgehog.
All right. Got a few to pull from. Oh, shots fired. Let me see. You know what? Damn, it's kind of tough because I have a few that I wasn't directly involved in, but I got caught up in because other people. You know what? I'm gonna talk about going to gigs because that was Probably
You don't remember your very first experience?
like maybe being pulled over, like my parents being pulled
A
over.
good one, good one,
Yeah,
good
That's
one.
like
A
kinda
good
like,
one.
I mean, whatever.
Nah, we want the
Yeah.
good shit.
The juicy stuff.
Did we talk about when my pops got pulled over while we were all in the car, me and two Ravens?
No,
No?
let's do that. That sounds good.
I like that one.
Okay.
I remember that night.
Yeah, but we didn't talk about it.
No.
On the show? No, I don't
Okay,
think so.
okay. All right, let's talk about that.
We got hit 3 times in the same night.
Yeah. Okay, so that one, I was probably a 6th grader. So me and two Ravens were playing football for East LA Bobcats.
We were champions. Almost.
They're actually the best.
Almost.
But okay. So yeah, we were playing for them. So we were at Salazar Park. Practice had ended. My pops was taking us home. We lived in Sereno at the time. Whatever. Eagle.
Suburbs.
So,
All right, go on.
so yeah, so what ended up happening was we were driving home and we weren't doing anything wrong. Sheriff pulled us over. So it's me.
Okay, okay.
What were you doing anything wrong?
You weren't doing anything wrong. You weren't doing anything wrong, but
Initially,
hold on, what happened? Oh no. Allegedly, your dad was driving a little erratic-y.
Allegedly.
Driving a little
Allegedly.
erratic-y. Okay,
Allegedly.
but it wasn't like I mean, it was kind of fast, but it was kind of erratic. But there was also everybody in the car was bald.
yeah, that's
Everybody in the car was like hella bald. There's 4 bald heads in the car around Salazar Park, headed
Yeah.
toward El Sereno.
driving you around.
At
And-
what time of night?
It was after practice, so it was like 8 or 9. You know,
Little sketch.
and
little sketch.
and the car's
It's a Jeep.
it's a Jeep,
It's an
and,
88 Jeep Cherokee lifted 4x4.
yeah,
That'll do it. That'll pull you. Get you pulled over.
and he's driving a little rambunctious.
But he always does.
Yeah.
So this is normal to us. Yeah. So yeah, okay. I guess that is what they. To be honest, I think it was quota because
Potentially, yeah.
so they pulled us over, ran and shit, nothing. They had no reason to pull us over. They let us go the first time. Drive on a little bit further down the road. We get to I think right before City Terrace. Pull us over again. Different cop, sheriff's department again. Fucking my dad's now furious. He's fucking pissed. He's giving us the second cop attitude. We're all like, what the fuck? Like this is already the
Yeah.
second time.
It was less than 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Like
it wasn't even.
Are you guys trying to explain that? Like, yo, we're the
Yeah,
car
he
that they
did.
just stopped
Yeah.
up
He
the
was like,
street.
dude, your coworker just let us go. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Don't you guys hear each other like on the radio?
that,
Like,
that's why I think it wasn't. We didn't get pulled over randomly. I think there was an APB on a Jeep that might have looked like ours because we got pulled over by 3 different cops
Right.
on the same route home.
Yeah. So we get pulled over a second time. Same shit happens. They run the shit, make sure everything checks out. They let us go. Now by the third time,
Okay, with the third one.
it was warranted at this point because so one of the things my dad likes to do is urban 4x. What he does
In East LA?
anywhere,
Anywhere.
urban 4x.
Like just driving on people's fucking front
Sidewalks.
lawns and shit?
Anywhere.
Anywhere.
I wouldn't fly in Pico Rivera, just letting you know.
He would give a fuck.
Ain't doing that in my
So-
home.
You would go upstairs.
So-
you would go up, yeah,
I don't.
anywhere.
There was a time around this time there was a lot of construction on the railroad right there across the street from King Torta.
They would dump.
Oh,
They
on
would
Valley?
they dump a bunch of dirt right there sometimes. So he sees the dirt and it's fucking just like, oh yeah, like
4x time.
yeah,
It was a perfect, like, cool ass.
yeah. And so right as he's like speeding up, and right as we're about to like hit the mound, they light us up, whoop, and like he sees it and he slows down before he goes over it. But there was 2 mounds. I think we had already went over one of them.
Yeah.
And we're gonna hit the second one like fast, and they light us up. But this time, he opens the door. This time, he's so pissed that he furiously opens the door, turns around, and like faces the cops like, "What the fuck?" And then we get 2 lasers like on his chest. We're like, "Oh fuck! This must have been a shot in front of us."
Get in the fucking car. Get in the fucking car. And he was like, fucking closes his door. And he's just like,
I'm a fucking Marine.
yeah. And then fucking like, yeah. So and then what ended up happening was because he did that, they fucking pulled him out of the car.
Yeah.
Put him in the back seat with handcuffs.
Yeah.
He's like cussing them out. Then like the fucking cops are interrogating each one of us youngsters. Interrogating each one of us, and they're like, "What was going on? And why were you guys on the side of the road?" And I remember
We're all in our football uniform. Yeah.
all our pads are in the trunk.
Yeah.
Sweaty, like gross and sweaty. And I remember Solano was one of the kids that was with us. Who happened? We took him from the neighborhood and brought him to the park. He was like, I don't know, the suspension or something.
He said something.
Dude, shut the fuck
We're all
up.
in middle school.
Yeah, like, shit about and he's just like the suspension or something. Like, but he was like trying to sell it to the cop. See through this bullshit.
Enough to let us go.
Yeah,
though.
so like, they ended up so that one they held us for a long ass time, and then they finally also let us go because I guess they got word that we got pulled over twice before.
Yeah.
And luckily they let us go, and we got home pretty late that night.
Damn, I want to ask the homie from ELA Audits if your dad had like money that he could have got off these cops. You know, like 3 times, like could have like hit up the department for harassment. Like these motherfuckers keep pulling me over. You know what I mean? Like,
You ain't gonna get shit for that.
There was no cameras.
It's worth a shot,
No
though.
phone.
All right, what about you, Chewy? What's your
My first time with encounter with the cops was the same thing. Getting pulled over. When I was a kid, my cousins used to give me alcohol, and they would just throw me in the car with them, and they would go drink and drive, and I'd be right there with them. So it was nothing crazy. They let us go. But I will talk about this one crazy instance where like I was in high school, and I was at a girl's house. I ditched school, and then after school, my homie was gonna pick me
special?
up. No, during school special. After school, my homie was gonna pick me up, and another homie happened to be walking by, and I told him, "Hey, so and so is just gonna pick me up right now. Like, kick it, blaze it, whatever." And he said, "Yeah." So the homie comes, picks us up, and like a block or two after that, like one of my homies that we got herb from lived down the street, So like we go and we pull up to his house. As we pull into the alley, like the homie gets down, one of the homies gets down. We're in a 2-door Civic, and I'm in the back seat, and the homie gets down and he goes and to buy the weed and stuff. As we're waiting in the car, like out of nowhere, this fool just comes out running towards us with a 357 in his hand, and he points it at my homie that's in the driver's seat, and that fool just like bangs on him, And my homie, he didn't bang, but he was bald, And like he hits both of us up, and like we, we say what we had to say, and that fool wasn't believing us, and like he jar. Nah. You know how like when they don't believe you, they make you lift your shirt up to see if you had tats and all that shit. So all that shit happened, and yeah. And so like he whistles, and some other fool from one of the apartments next to them, fucking comes out, and he's in like an old school mafia trench coat, those long ass ones, and he like puts it to the side to get like a walkie-talkie, and there's like a big ass HK hanging like on a sling on his side, And I just look at that, and that's when like my heart just dropped to my stomach. And I was like, fuck, like, we're going to die, these fools ain't believing us, like, this is a setup because these fools, like, on the walkie-talkie, like, yeah, green Civic, license plate, da-da-da-da, And I'm like, damn, that's just, we were set up, like, something happened, like, they were waiting for somebody, something to happen. And they make us pull into the alley, and as that happens, like, the guy that originally pulled out a gun at us goes to the main street, and he sees my homies, lets off a few rounds, and when the rounds go off, I tell my homie to like just drive, and I throw myself on the floor. And yeah, pretty much 3 shots, and like I thought that as soon as he shot, the other fools were gonna shoot at us, but they didn't. They took off like running after those shots, like towards his homie, and then his homie was running towards them, so they kind of like talked real quick and they bounced. And I told the homie to step on it, and he was going towards them. I'm like, fool, go the other way, like, what the fuck are you doing, They're going to think we're trying to run them over or something, And, yeah, we pull out the alley, and as soon as we pull out the alley and we make, like, a little turn going towards, like, Soto, the main street was Soto, the cops were already, like, turning the street, and they, like, bust a bitch and get behind us, like, they get behind us, and, I told the homie like, fuck, fool, like just drive normal, you know, like if they pull us over, you know, like don't say shit. Say you pick me up from my girl's house, and that's it, you know, like if they ask anything about like shooting or whatever, tell them that there was some kids with the fireworks right there in the corner, you know, and you know that's our story. And so we had our story straight, you know. So like it's crazy because they let us drive all the way to his house, and he lives in the alley too by Evergreen Park. And as soon as we go into the alley, another cop car comes in like trying to block us, but they didn't know he lived there, so he pulls into the house, you know, like we managed to still pull into the driveway, but they had no gate, right? So like we're boxed in, and like the cops like finally turn on their lights on us, and they're like on the microphone, and they're like telling us like to get out the car. And it's crazy because like the car was a old Civic, like a 98 or some shit like that, and the door didn't open, the right side door didn't open. So when they're telling me to get out, I have my hands up in the car, and they're like, you know, get out the car. I'm like, I can't, like the door doesn't open. So they're like, jump over the seat, you know, and jump out the window, like try to keep your hands up. So I'm like fucking trying to like do this fucking, you know, like yeah, you know, like trying to get over and shit. And like I put my hands out the window, and then as I turn around to like sit on like the seat of the door to like kind of like grab the roof, and then like put my foot out, like one of the cops just like kind of like grabs me from my hips and just tosses me on the fucking floor like real fucking hard, you know, like just like kind of like a hip toss, you know, like you just fucking bam. And like I fall on the floor, I found like my chest on the floor, and then like he just drops his whole weight of his knee onto like my back, you know, like trying to like grab my arms and put me in handcuffs. And that shit fucking hurt, yo. I don't know how the fuck that shit didn't like break my ribs or something, you know, like because that shit fucking hurt. Like I was bruised up from my ribs right here. And yeah, you know, they separate us, and like they're talking to us, and we had our story straight already. And they're like, whose car is this? And I'm all like, that's my homie's mom's car. And he's all like I don't believe you, that's bullshit. Like why do you have a screwdriver in the ignition, you know? And it's like, well, he lost the keys, you know. We fucking had to G-write the car, you know. So they didn't believe us, and I told them like, look, the mom lives right there. Like you could knock on the door and she'll bring out the paperwork. And the mom was already kind of like looking, so she was like coming out already. And like they did all that shit. And like at the end of the day, like these motherfuckers, all they did was like give me a ticket for not wearing a seatbelt, you know, because they couldn't get us for like nothing else, you know. And I remember I was pissed because like I had got my shit fucked up, but I had no time to worry about it because I was like, fuck the homies, you know, like they're the ones that got shot at, you know. So like I run back to school. At that time I was supposed to already be an after school program, you know. So I run back to school to my class, and I hit up one of my classmates, and I'm like, hey, can I borrow your phone really quick? I call a homie. I'm like, hey, don't come outside. These fools are outside your house, you know. And they're like, Dick, don't trip. We already left. Like we saw those fools already, you know. So yeah, that was like a crazy ass shit because the cop was like being a super like asshole, like rude about it, you know. Like you could tell that if like there wasn't an adult present, my homie's mom, like that fool would have just like probably like smacked us around a few times, you know. But like we're lucky that she was there and we got to his house, you know. Like so, that's pretty crazy.
That's a good one. So I've had hundreds probably of fucking encounters with the cops. But the first one that I could like really think back to, must have been like 9 years old, and I'm living in the Southside Montebello at the Greenwood Apartments.
Not South Central?
No, not South Central. And so at the Greenwood Apartments, you gotta understand, these are like some two big ass, like they're almost like project size buildings. You know, they have probably about like 30 units on the bottom, 30 units on top. Yeah, no, not at all. So there's like, I don't know, like 100 and something units on this property, and there's a ton of fucking kids. Like there must have been 15, 20 of us as a kid. And we were just getting into all kind of shit. So what we would do during like the springtime when, you know those trees that have little balls that have picas on it? Oh, yeah. So we would fill up like 5-gallon buckets full of those little picker balls. And right behind the Greenwood Apartments is this factory that had like a bunch of semi-trucks that would go pass by the back of the garages all the time. So we would bomb the semi trucks. And when they were empty, it sounded like gunshots. So it kind of sounded cool to us as kids. We would all just stand on the roofs and wait for them to pass by, and we would just start chucking our fucking picker balls at it. Boom, 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 boom. And what was cool about it was like when people would throw away their mattresses, as kids we would go and like grab them and stack them up. So yeah, now that I think about it, it's so gross, right? but that was whole lot of Hep C. But that was like our little escape, right? So if you were on the roof and you had to make a quick escape, you can jump off the roof onto these pile of fucking mattresses that are there and then make your escape. So
first get Hep C, then make your escape.
yeah.
Safety first.
So
That's the trade.
that brings us to this faithful day in question. Right? So now the statute of limitations is obviously run on a lot of this shit. This happened when I was 9 years old, so you can't prosecute me for any of this. Yeah,
Allegedly.
and supposedly. All right, so apparently the cholos that were living there had beat up the Respaldo guy, right? It kind of fucked up. Yeah. What a bunch of pieces of shit that was. Huh? So there's this big block of ice that's chilling in the back of the apartments. So as kids, we're like, yo, let's break the ice, collect it, and we'll bomb the trucks with the ice.
Smart.
So we're like, yeah, great idea, right? So we collect the ice. We're waiting there for the fucking trucks to come through. Here we go. First truck comes through, and we start smacking it. Boom, 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 boom. Ha, we all laughing, right? Next truck comes through. This time, unknown to us, his window's down on the passenger side. So we start lighting the truck up. One of us tags the driver with a piece of fucking ice. So the car goes, and it never did that before, you know? Like they would come to a stop.
There was no protocol for that.
Yeah. But when it did that, we all looked at each other like, holy fuck, it's on. So all of us quick, we hit the fucking quick escape, we run back to the pad. Now, I'm about 9 years old at this time, right? I knew that there was a possibility of somebody seeing me and they were gonna have an APB out for what I was wearing. So I needed to change my clothes. So me and my homie, Anthony, fucking Dion, if he's out there, you ever see this shit? Remember that shit? Me and Dion run to my crib. We fucking run in my house. I give him like a pair of pants because we're both wearing shorts. I give him a shirt, so we completely change our outfit, right? So we change real quick. We're like, okay. All right, let's go see what's up. We're walking out of the house. As we're walking out, the Montebello PD is rolling up, like real slowly. And me and Dion are walking out of my front door.
Should have stayed
So we
inside.
both look at him, we look at each other, like, oh shit. And the cop goes, he stops, and he goes, come here. And I'm thinking like, oh my God, this is it, right? This is my first trip to the halls is on its way. So we walk over to the pig, and he's like, did you see a bunch of kids running? And I look at him and I'm like, what? And he's like, did you see a bunch of kids running? Now I look around. So these apartments, they have stairways like on the front and the back, and then a stairway in the middle, right? On all the stairways are little groups of the homies. So there's like 3 homies over here, 2 homies on this stairway, 3 homies. So I look around, and everybody who was involved in this ice chucking incident is all staring at me like, oh, he better not be snitching. So I go, nah, I didn't see anything. Me and my homie just came out of my house. You seen us, we just walked out right now. And he goes, okay, well, if you hear about anything, give me a call. And he gives me a little card with his name and number on it or whatever. And he tells me they hurt a truck driver. He's bleeding, and they hurt him really bad. And we're like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Shouldn't have been driving.
So yeah, sorry to that truck driver, you know, whoever that was, just trying to make a living.
If
You know,
you're,
you
if
just
you're
rolled
listening
down-
out there,
Yeah. If you ever, you know, my
I'm on my way to San Bernardino.
he was. I reckon I remember that. You know. But yeah.
He's on his way to San Bernardino right now.
Yeah, but that was probably like my first real encounter, you know, with the cops. That was kind of like a real close one. Now I got a bunch of other like crazy fucking stories, but that was like the real first one right there. What about you, Mister?
Mr. Innocent guy. I've never been arrested in my life.
No.
Nah, just fucking with you. No, like the first time was I was 11 years
Or
old.
a good one. Or a good one.
11 years old. That one lasted for like 4 years, man. 4 or 5 years. I was 11. I was going to Osarino. And I grew up.
No.
I think I told Oma this one, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was a very scrawny little kid, you know, like in junior high. I looked like a third grader or something going to junior high. And there was like this big, like, I thought he was big at the time. So white boy, he was always like smacking me in the head, you know. And I was like, I'll go home, I'll fucking piss and shit. And I was telling my dad, like, this fucking kid keeps bugging me, dude. Don't leave me alone. And he was like, well, I don't want you to fight. I don't want to get a fucking car and go down to school for you and shit. Tell the teacher. So I'll be like, yo, Miss Jones, like, homeboy, he's like fucking bugging me, smacking me in the head. Well, you must have done something. Like, I didn't do anything. It was like that for a good while, dude. Until like this one morning, I was in a bad one, dude, and I was passing by. I had just gotten to school, and I'm walking by, and he's like on top of like a little balcony, and he smacks me on the head, and he spits on me, and I go, yo. It was very offensive. And I got pissed, dude. I got like super heated, and I go, yo, what the fuck? And he was like, go suck in your mama's balls. And I don't know, like after that I just seen red. So I got the dude by the shirt, flipped him off the balcony, and just started like ground and pound. You know, I was beating his ass, dude. I just saw red, dude. I didn't stop. Until like this PE teacher came by and just pulled me off of him and took me to the office, and they were talking to me, and I was like, just to give you like an image of how I look, like I went to a Christian church my whole life until I was like 18, and my grandma would force me to do like a comb over, wear like a nice little vest, and dress all nice and shit, and then they bring in the school police. I'm looking at them like, what the fuck? And they're like, yeah, I'm here for the kid. I mean, the mom called and she said she wants to press charges, and I was like, and they're like, oh, Mr. Comfort. He was like, oh, he's
Fucking comfort.
he was
Asshole
like,
sent me to boot camp.
Oh, that's the guy.
that's the guy. That's the guy.
I wanted to go though, so
Yeah.
in my defense.
And he was like, it's right there. And the lady turns around, and it's a chick cop, and she turns, and he's like, where? Right there. And he's like, is that him? And I go, yeah, like, the little Christian boy. And I go, yeah, it's me. And she was like, oh, it ain't funny. You ain't, like, there's nothing to be happy about. Because I smiled at her, like, yeah, it's me. She picks me up, puts me in handcuffs, puts me in the back of the cruiser, and she comes in, and then like with their partner, and the dude turns around, and he's like, "Who's this?" He's like, "Oh, it's the guy that sent us to go pick up." I was like, "That's him." So the whole way to the Hollenbeck police station, and everybody kept asking like, "Oh, so where's the kid that nearly killed the guy?" And like, "Oh, that's him." I was like, "That's him!" Like everyone was saying that. And then my mom shows up, and she's like, "Ay, Ernesto, like." I told you about them be hanging out with bad people. And my dad's like,
Cristo.
my dad's like, I'm gonna beat your ass when we get home. Like, I don't know where the fuck you get drugs selling and shit like that. And I go, I didn't sell shit, dude. Like, I just got in a fight. And that's what it was, dude. After that, it was like in and out of juvie, probation for 4 years for assault and battery.
They said you.
Yeah, they sent me to juvie.
How old are you?
11.
How much time in the house did you do?
The first time, like about a month.
In
And then after, when I was 14,
in Eastlake? Or where'd you
East
go?
Lake.
Okay.
East Lake.
What unit?
CD.
Oh, okay. I didn't see
So that was the first time. After that, like when I was 14.
It's actually really disgusting in there.
Yeah. And I was like 14 again, same shit, fighting, and yeah, in and out of juvie from there.
All right. What about you, Mr. Ravens?
Well, I don't know. I some of my earliest memories like are about the police.
Oh.
I feel like I have memories about getting raided when I was a kid, but honestly, I don't know if I can really access. So I don't know if we got raided. I'm not sure. Yeah, twice.
Mama Ravens confirms the
Yeah.
raid.
I remember
All
them.
right, so what do you remember about that raid?
No, I just remember them having guns. You know what I mean? Like, and I didn't really know
What
the
was going
danger of the gun. Like, I was way young, though. I was like, I don't know. I remember there was like guns and shit. I was too young to like know. But my very next memory is at the Santa Fe Springs swap meet, and they're trying to give me like a baseball card or a basketball card or something like that. And they were asking me questions. Yeah, the cops, and they would give me a card.
I remember
Yeah, they would give me like, hey, come over here, and then they give me a card, and then they ask me like about my mom, like where's she coming from and this and that. Like they would ask like things about they want to tell them about my mom, and I don't know. I just want the card, fool. Like, you know. But they would always like try to entice me with like cards and shit. And they pull out basketball cards and shit. After that, my next memory is my dad getting arrested, all crazy, violent. Like he had gotten into a fight with my grandpa, and it lasted hours. Like the whole ordeal of like my dad freaking out and like it lasted what seemed to be hours. Like arguing inside the house, it goes outside the house. There's fighting going on, and he comes back and he's trying to leave, and people are yelling at each other, and then the cops pull up. And they're just like manhandling him. They got him against the car, and he's fucking screaming. And I'm just like, what the fuck is happening? I'm like I'm koala beared on my mom's friend. And if you've heard this story before, you know that. Yeah. And and so
That's a good one.
you know, and so yeah. And then he goes away, you know. But that's like the cops didn't interact with me very much right there. My first interaction with the cops, other than them like trying to give me cards and like pointing guns at me, was going to visit my dad in prison. And that was like the first time I ever had like to actually like talk to a cop like about anything, you know?
Well, those ain't really cops, but
Whatever, you know what I mean? Like they're cops to them, you know what I mean? Like they're the ones
yeah,
they're the
yeah.
ones enforcing the law within the prison, you know what I mean? Like I knew enough to know that like these people are doing cop duties for this population of humans, right? So and they acted hella similar.
But
you
just
know?
to all you prison guards out there, you ain't fucking cops, all right? You ain't pulling nobody over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nobody outside the prison gives a shit about what. Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
I got it.
You want to flunk the academy.
Yeah, you know, but you know, and it was strange because it's like I didn't really know like how to interact with them. I just knew that they were like that I wasn't supposed to like be
Like
on
'em.
their team. I wasn't supposed to like them, you know. I didn't. You know, I had like hella resentment and contempt for the cops already. I don't even think I was 6 years old yet. Like, and I was already like, fuck these fools, you know. And and what was crazy, like my first like like when you go into prison to visit somebody, there's a room with these clear windows that all the prisoners enter that room, and then there's like a waist high wall that they all undress behind, and you can kind of see their heads on the other side of the wall too. So it's like the window, then like some space, and then like a wall, and then on the other side of that wall is like there's a cop, and he's directing all the prisoners to like they all get naked, they're squatting, coughing, they're doing their whole little check before they come into the visiting room. And I knew my dad wasn't in that group. Like I was gonna see him through the window because I just remember that that's what we were there for. And we're sitting at the window already, waiting for my dad. But I'm looking over at all the fools getting undressed and the cop telling them to do the whole nine, and just looking at it like, damn, like
That's
these
real.
That's real, you know.
Yeah.
These are all grown ass men with fucking tattoos on their face and 6-packs and the whole nine, and like. There's only one cop in there, and they're all doing what he said, and it just seemed like, what the fuck is happening here? Like, what kind of shit is this? You know, like it was like I don't know. For my young mind, it was just hard to process like all the things that are going on, because as a kid, you're just thinking like why don't you just do something? Like, why don't you just smack that fool? I mean, there's like 20 of you in there, you know, and one of him type of shit, you know, like just do it, you know, what the fuck? Not comprehending like I'm really grasping the whole situation of where I'm at, you know. And then my dad comes to the door, and it's a clear door, and And I can see him on the other side of it, and he's, you know, handcuffed, and he's all like, he's got a bunch of gauze like on his neck and his head and stuff, and you know, the cops right there, and he's like handcuffed. I'm just like looking, like analyzing the whole situation from like a child, like damn, like this is crazy, you know, like he can't, like he's handcuffed, you know, like wasn't really grasping the concept of this place yet, you know, and it was strange to see like the cops' responsibilities and how they're interacting with my dad, and like the whole situation was just like crazy strange, you know. And then my dad walks in, and they close the door, and he's still handcuffed, and he has to put his hands through this little slit, and they uncuff him there, and he walks over and sits down, and we have our little conversation. It was just a surreal experience, you know, like that kind of being one of the first times that I'm looking at like, oh, these are the fools that like that do this kind of shit, you know, that are holding my dad. The fools that come and blast down your door and like fucking take you to this place, you know. And it was so normal to me that I remember one time as a kid, I told my dad, oh, when I go to prison, I'm gonna fucking this and that. And my mom was like, what the fuck? Like, never going to prison. Don't ever say some shit like that again. Like, you know, I just figured that's what's going to happen, you know?
That's a proud mama moment right there.
But yeah, so those are my first, like, experiences with the police.
Damn. Damn.
Y'all all right on that?
Yeah, I just thought it was fun times.
What's that?
I was looking for the time we start.
Oh, okay.
About 8:30.
Ish? What time is it
9:13.
All right.
now? So, I was thinking, we should, like, do a segment, and that might be an episode.
Yeah.
Like, that was, like, this will be the end of it right here. So, we'll just do a little outro,
Okay. Let's do it.
and then we'll go to the next topic.
All right.
Well, can we do like a debrief of this? Like, so,
Okay, real quick. the
like
last
if we
one?
have questions for each other and shit like that,
Okay.
just like a quick debrief of like our first encounter with
Yeah,
police.
yeah, I like that.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Q&A.
Were any of you ever taught to respect police as kids?
Not really.
Yeah.
No, not really.
Yeah.
Actually, it's crazy because like a lot of the times, like Mexican families, they'll be like, "Oh, ahí está el policía, te va a llevar el policía," and they tell you that to like scare you,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah, so we grew up, you know, like thinking like, "Oh shit, you gotta be scared of the police." you know?
Yeah. Same.
And with what reason?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my mom was always like that mentality of being like illegal.
Uh-huh.
So being like, oh, well, since I'm here illegally, you gotta respect
Tradition.
whatever is here. You know, like this ain't our country, so this and that. And for those of you who don't know, like, you know, I'm also born in Mexico, probably like the only one from this earth, right?
Allegedly. and
Allegedly.
supposedly.
Allegedly. But yeah, so she was always like, oh,
Mexico is also a colony.
te están hablando, like, talk to them with respect. They're talking to you, and I was like got the Fuchi face and shit. You know, but then after like having my dad on the other side, you know, my dad was raised here, so he was like, you know, fuck this was, you know. So I was like, which one do I listen to? My dad beats my ass, but then I can't disrespect my mom. You know?
Yeah, for me, it was a little bit weird growing up because, for the most part, my family don't respect police. But on the same token, my dad has a lot of. So I think I talked about it last time. My dad joined the military right before I was born. Well, his first unit that he was in, a lot of them became police, and I mean like a good handful of them became police. Like I can think of them, and growing up, they were like my uncles. So I had police officer uncles that I would see, and I knew that they were police, and I respected them as an uncle figure, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, when I grew up, I also got to see my family being very disrespectful to police because, you know, obviously.
Because fuck them.
Because fuck them, yeah. And that was taught in my family, I think, for the most part. And even like, it's funny because, like, even my dad's interaction with his friends, he'd be like, oh, fuck you, cop. Like, he would abuse their power to do crazy shit that I'm not going to talk about. Like, but it involves him cheating, go to jail for. So it's kind of like a weird, like, I got to see how corrupt they can be offside when they're not on duty, and like have that respect for. But as an adult now, I don't really like.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
Hey, on that note, did you guys ever hear about the house? There was a house in City Terrace that they were used to gamble in, and like underground casino, and then like the cops would be there and like show up and shit.
Why you snitching?
I didn't say where in City
I don't know what the
Terrace.
fuck you're talking about.
Where's City Terrace at? Is that like far from here?
Yeah, it's in it's by East LA. I know we're kind of far in San
I grew
Bernardino,
up
but
here in San Bernardino, bro.
yeah.
You know, next to the Bass Bros.
Yeah, I also have like kind of like you. I have a lot of law enforcement in my family, you know. So I back the blue. You know what I'm saying? I back the blue. You know what I mean?
Even as a joke.
This will be the last time he's here.
Yeah, you know.
Dirty.
And-
bro.
Let's censor that.
Hey, Trees.
So
Switch seats, yeah.
so
Nah, that's your homie.
so if you're gonna go on my Instagram, I'm gonna post a video of me pledging allegiance. You know, saying the whole Pledge of Allegiance. So.
Support the blue line.
Yeah, nah, but yeah. As a kid, I didn't. As a kid, we weren't really taught necessarily to be respectful of police, and I think as a very young age, it was very clear that like they were the adversary in the hood. You know, I remember as a little kid walking down the street and in the gardens, and my sister seeing like a cop down by the fucking by the park, kind of heading towards Whittier Boulevard, and my tia lives was the last house before or the first house coming into the hood, but the last house leaving the hood. She was like right there, and my sister goes, she tells me, go run and tell my uncle, my aunt that the pigs are in the hood. So I go sprinting, like, and I finally get there.
Sounds like guy.
Yeah. And you know, just let them know, like, hey, the cops are in the hood. So, I mean, at a very, very, very young age, it was very apparent that like they are not our friends and they are the adversary. So it's kind of a weird dynamic there, you know, growing up with like my uncle, who I love and respect very much, you know, or even nowadays, you know, I have a little brother that's part of the LAPD, and although, you know, I don't necessarily agree with what he does for a living, you know what I mean? Like, it's his choice, and he may not necessarily agree with what I do for a living, you know. But you know, we should respect each other in that way. So it is what it is.
Yeah, growing up, it was always like, oh fuck, it's the cops, you know. But not only that, it was also like, fuck the police, you know. Like it was celebrated, and I was like, yeah, fuck the police, you know. Like in school, it was always like pro police. The school was always pro police, you know.
That's right.
And
Dare.
the whole nine. You know, and I remember the sensation of being like, fuck these fools, like when fuck the police came on, and everybody that I loved was like, fuck the police. And I realized like, okay, yeah, like I get it, you know, like fuck those fools. They can come to my school all they want, but get nothing from me, you know. But it was really apparent, you know. It was really apparent early that they were the adversary.
And for me, it was always like, it was never like, oh, I gotta respect them, or in my mentality, you know. Like even if that was my mom's way of thinking, you know, like there's a law, so you gotta listen to them and shit like that, you know. For me, it was always like, why do I gotta listen to them? Like, they're here to serve us, you know. Like, they're here to serve the community. What service have they done? You know, even going to school, like it was like going to Roosevelt, like the school police from there, some fucking white dude, maniac. You know, he was always like, we catch him a couple times looking at girls like, damn, you know, like that's how they're coming to school now. And it was like, yo, bro, what the fuck? You gotta chill with that shit, bro. What the fuck? And even with that dude, I had a bad encounter, like coming out of trying to get all my credits so I could graduate on time, staying after school. And I remember this one time I was in my English teacher's class, and I was with my homie, and at that time we were both skate, and that was our way to get to and from places. And he was coming out of the classroom. I don't know how it happened, but his board slipped from his hand. He stepped on it, fell down the stairs. Shit was funny. I was dying, dude, rolling on the floor. And just so happened that the fucking cop was passing by with the cruiser. And he was like, get the fuck against the wall. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you fucking heard me. And he was like, no, I didn't hear you, dog. Like, can you say that again? Like, get against the wall. I'm like, oh, fuck you, dude. And he gets me and he slams me against the wall. And then the teacher comes out and he was like, yo, Ashley, we got this. And he was like, she was like, whoa, what's going on? No, we got this, Ashley. We got these guys. Don't worry about it. And he was like, yo, who the fuck you calling Ashley? Like, the teacher's name is Monica. Like, who the fuck is Ashley, you know? And he was like, and at the same time he was searching me, and I was like, oh, you're so fucking tough, right? And he was, I'll beat the shit out of you, and while they take off your fucking vest. Like, you're the one with all the gadgets on you, you're the one looking like fucking Batman and shit. What do I got, a fucking backpack and a fucking skateboard, you know? And then, like, I couldn't see his partner until he fucking turned me around and put me against the fucking car. And I look at him, and he's like, one of us. And I go, bro, like, you're on the wrong side of the line, bro. Like, this is happening in the fucking school, you know? Like,
Where in Roosevelt?
yeah, like, between the T building, there's a T building, some little bungalows are right there. They're not there no more, dude, but they remodeled the whole shit, but it was like,
Well, they knocked down the art building and all
knocked
that
on
stuff.
everything, man, but like, the other fool, like, dude that was Rasa, he put me to the side, he goes, oh, you gotta understand that we get a lot of content. You gotta understand you're in school, bro. Like, I'm a 14-year-old kid, bro. Like, you're coming at me with that energy, you want me to respect you? He's coming over here saying he's gonna kick my ass, and I go, what? Where? You wanna kick my ass? Take off your vest. Put down your gun. What do I got? I got a backpack and a skateboard. That's all I got. And I was like, I'm over here trying to get my shit together, and you're over here fucking coming at me the wrong way. Like, to this day, I still have a positive, yet to encounter a positive situation with the fucking cop. To this day, I have not encountered.
Did you ever run into Aguilar? The PO?
Hey.
Aguilar? No.
The PO at Roosevelt?
My PO was Solano from
Solano?
Hollenbeck. From Hollenbeck.
Nah, I had Aguilar. That fool thought he was like RoboCop or some shit.
Did that do with the buzz cut?
Yeah, like a buzz cut.
Ken always had like a camel jacket sometimes.
Nah, he would be dressed.
Sandoval was my probation officer.
He would be dressed like in slacks and like fucking a dressing shirt and shit.
Well, I got kicked out of Lincoln when I got arrested that one time, and I went the last time I got locked up, and then my probation officer from there was Chavez, and that's the one I got a good right hook on him. I was getting down with this Asian dude, and after that he was like, I'm not even gonna worry about you. I'm just gonna let you go to court. I'll let them settle it right there. From there.
Well, so we can conclude that fuck the police.
On that note, so I hope.
Whose phone is that? Wow.
Really? For real?
That show's over. Canceled.
real? All right. Well, on that
whole
note, right there, that's gonna be our episode for today.
If you guys had a run-in with the police, comment. Don't leave details though.
Don't incriminate yourself.
I
Yeah.
mean, unless the statute of limitations, use your own discretion. And if you get popped, that's your fault.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, if y'all wanna, share.
Tell us about your interaction with the police.
You're scared.
Do you support police? If you do, unfollow us.
If you're like,
Yeah,
If
tell
you're-
us why, and then
if you're like me, you're back to blue.
or you could keep watching and talk shit on every show.
Yeah.
Leave a comment on every show about how much you dislike it.
So I hope you guys enjoyed the segment today. I hope you guys got something out of this conversation. I know I didn't. But I hope it was entertaining for you guys. So on that note, ho.
Talking.